Today we're going to take a look at and review Netflix's live action One Piece series. Now, I'm a little bit new to One Piece in general, but I'll have you know I'm on episode 1000 right now, as of this moment, as of November 22nd, the day before Thanksgiving, 2023. I am on episode 1000. I actually had to stop watching episode 1000 because I started to get a little sad and depressed that we're getting so close to the end, that I'm getting caught up, that it started to like take away from the series because I couldn't get out of my head of being like, it's almost over, what am I gonna do? I feel like I've watched enough One Piece. I think we started episode 1 maybe 3.5, 4 months ago, so to have blown through 999 episodes and be on the 1000th episode within that amount of time, not all of it, but a lot of the series is still kind of fresh. To be completely honest, I expected the worst when it came to the One Piece live action. I mean, let's be honest, the majority of people who've got any experiences with any live action show, movie, etc., it's a disappointment. Like, it never meets your expectations, or they try to be too much like the anime or too different from the anime. It's a really hard thing to pull off. So I will say right off the bat, overall, I think they did about as good of a job as possible. And I think that stems from the fact that they had Oda be such a large part of the live action show. The fact that they took the creator of the anime and were like, hey, bro, come help us. And his input, his ideas, what he wanted the live action to be, the actors he wanted to be in the live action, etc. I think that really shined through and really helped the series overall. Now, one thing I absolutely loved about One Piece, from my understanding, a lot of the sets, a lot of the ships, etc., practical effects, a lot of this stuff was made and built by hand for these specific reasons. The Baradier looked so good. It didn't look identical to the anime, but let's be real, for them to have built something like that, it looked fantastic. It was amazing. But there are other parts of the series when it comes to like the practical effects that I really didn't like too much. And I'm going to touch on a few things. We're going to bounce around a little bit. I got a few keynotes I'm going to hit and just kind of ran off of, so bear with me. Now, all of these are in no particular order. Like I said, I've got a few little notes here, there. I'm just going to pop through back and forth. Again, not in any order. First of all, Garp. I thought the actor that they got to portray Garp was a very good choice. I think cosmetically and appearance wise, he did have that Garp look to him. I wish he was a bit more, you know what I'm saying, like fucking, a little bit more thick. I mean, in One Piece, Garp's a pretty big fucking dude. Like, he's no joke. Like, I mean, motherfucker's picking up and punching cannonballs. Like, he's a big dude. So that's my one little bit of an issue, is I just wish he was a bit more of like, a bad mamma jamma, a bit thicker. I wish he filled out the character a bit more, we'll say. Good choice for the actor, but personality wise, he was so far for who Garp is to me, the way he was portrayed in One Piece, his personality. Like, I know they were trying to move him around as like, they wanted him to still be Garp, but they wanted him to seemingly play like a very different role in season 1 of the live action than he has played in the anime. Like, I think that's pretty apparent. But personality wise, I don't think he was Garp at all. He was way too much of a hard ass. And when you first see Garp, what's he doing in the anime? He's coming to pick up, do the prisoner transport of old Axe Hand Morgan. Dude falls asleep and gets just slashed across the chest. Wakes up, caving a fucking cannon in, and is like, somebody got killed? What's going on here? And then just laughs off the fact that he just got slashed across the chest and is like, oops, my bad. The Garp in the live action was just so far from that. Like, he was just way too much of a kind of a prick, to be honest. Like, I still like the actor. I don't even know if I can still say I like the character. Yeah, for me, like, he just didn't embody Garp's personality outside of like 2 or 3 small moments where there was like a little laugh here, or like a moment with Luffy there, like especially towards the end of the series, there was like a Garp moment, I get that they want him to be something different in the series. I just don't know why you'd write one of the most like widely loved and respected characters in the series as like a barely likable asshole who takes everything too seriously. Like Garp is literally, other than like Luffy, like he's the dude who's fucking around and joking. Like we've only seen Garp get serious a handful of times, and even those handful of times he wasn't even like really serious. Like the one time I think it was after Water 7 in the anime, he's trying to chase the Straw Hats down, and he's like, oh yeah, oh let me, and he's like, you know, he's just half-assed. He's not even really trying. He's literally letting them get away. That's one of his serious moments. But one thing I like, and this is kind of something with the whole like Halo series as well, I'm hoping that in season 1 they wanted Garp to play a particular, you know, character, particular person like in the series. And then towards the end, there's a situation where shit gets, I'm trying not to spoil anything here, where shit gets a little serious, but you can start to see that lightheartedness from Garp. And I'm hoping, really hoping, because I like the actor, I think it's very well cast. I'm hoping we can start to see more of the Garp we know, lighthearted, funny, you know, like wholesome interactions, caring, etc. in season 2. I really hope that's the case. Another thing that bugged me, did Zoro get lost one time? Did that motherfucker even like take a step in the wrong direction? You know what I mean? Like, I will say 1,000 episodes in, that gag is a bit old, but like, let's be real. Zoro getting lost is as much of a like part of Zoro as his 3 swords are. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that was a bit odd. Another thing with Zoro is I really don't like how they changed Zoro and Luffy's meeting. For me personally, I still remember, was it like episode 2, 3, 4, etc., that whole saga there where Luffy's like, oh, you know, you're gonna be my crew. Zoro's like tied up because he was taken up for the little girl in town, and then she's trying to help him and brings him this part for me in particular is something I cannot believe they didn't have in the show, because it was such a damn good scene. Is when Zoro's tied up, she tries to bring him the food, she ends up gone, the rice balls are on the ground in the dirt, and Zoro is like looking around, he's like, all right, give it to me, and literally like damn near eats like dirt covered rice balls out of Luffy's hands, essentially. Like, I thought that was a really cool, important, like deep emotional scene that said a lot about Zoro from square one. And I really like the way that they met in the live action. Bruh, I don't, does anybody like that? Does anybody prefer the way they had them meet in the live action to the anime? Like, I thought the way they met, the way they initially like forged that bond, I thought that was even still one of the cooler, like one of just the cooler stories, one of the cooler things that happened, especially when you go back to like the Whole Cake Island arc, when you have like Luffy, I'm not gonna eat anything until you make me some shit, Sanji, and he's over here like and Sanji brings him this food, it's been dropped, it's covered in shit, and what's Luffy do? He eats it. He says it's fucking amazing, I love it, it's the best shit I've ever had. And that, like, even talking about that gets me a little teary-eyed, because in my mind that has a very direct link to the Zoro and Luffy meeting, to them, you know, Luffy feeding him that fucking dirty rice ball and stuff. Like, I really don't like that they changed that. I really don't. Now, I will say, along with Garp, Sanji and Zoro both I thought were really well cast. Both were very, very good fits for their character. Both stories, both of their like personal stories played out well. One thing I didn't like about Zoro is I feel like they tried to make it, because Zoro is the cool guy. Zoro is that dude, but like, he's also the guy who fucks up and gets lost for an entire arc and then misses half the fight because he got on the wrong ship, or like, so there's this like, he is this serious dude, but like there's like this slapstick like goofiness to him occasionally as well, that for me personally, that contrast in his character is what makes him so good. So I just feel like the actor they got to portray Zoro, he was just a little too cool, a little too calm, a little too collected all the time. Like, he's always just like, You know, like there are many times where Zoro and Luffy like fuck, like just literally screaming at each other. Their fucking heads are getting big. You know, their teeth are all spiky and shit, just hollering back and forth. You know, like I miss that side of Zoro that wasn't in the series. Now Sanji, man, I mean, they did Sanji perfect. The actor that plays Sanji, when he's in the role of Sanji, I'm not a big fan of him as like himself outside of the anime. I don't know. I don't know. Like just I don't know. Something about him rubs me the wrong way. But as Sanji, I think he was perfectly cast. I think they did his, you know, his backstory and everything amazingly. I think Zeph was as well cast and acted as anybody in the show. Like people like, oh, Luffy, the actor, Luffy's actor. Ooh, Zeph was, bro, perfect. It looked like you literally took the motherfucker from the anime and put him in a live action. So, like, everything about Zeph was perfect. The tone, his attitude, his look, his feel, everything about Zeph was fucking perfect. I didn't know that the person they cast to play Kobe was transgendered. I had no clue. That explains why I was attracted to him. But I actually think the casting for Colby was better than the casting for Luffy. When it comes to Luffy, I'm in like a weird love-hate relationship with Luffy, both in the anime and in the live action. There are parts where Luffy will do something that just hits you right in the heart. You know, you're teary-eyed. And then there are parts where you're like, you fucking idiot, what are you doing? You know, like you're getting people killed. What are you fucking, you know? So like, I don't know if it's just Luffy's character in general that I always kind of have like a bit of a with, or if it's the actor himself. But I think Garp, Zeph, Sanji, Zoro, Kobe, Mihawk, I think, hell, even Buggy the Clown, I think were way better casting jobs. Like the actors they got filled those roles so much better than the actor they got for Luffy, in my opinion. But I'm not saying I didn't like him. You know, he's got a nice like innocence to him. I think that really helps with portraying Luffy as a character. But in like most fights in the live action, Luffy seemed like weak and almost useless. Like for me, the effects were a bit like when it came to Luffy, the effects were a bit cheesy, like slow in comparison. A lot of what Luffy does is like, you know, like quick. Like there are a couple times where he's like, you know, but like a lot of it's quick. Whereas there were some where it just felt like, oh, they're swiping a sword at him. Let him stretch his body out. Body stretching. We're stretching. Go back down. Go back down. We stretched. That kind of bugged me a bit. Like it, I don't know. Like again, I might just be a picky little bitch, but just in a lot of the fight scenes, like Luffy just seemed useless. Like the worst fighting sequences of the series all involved Luffy, in my opinion. Like I think Sanji, Zoro, like all those guys, I think they did very well. I think they pulled it all off. Speaking of Zoro and stuff like that, the sword fighting, I think the Mihawk and Zoro fight could have been done better, could have been more than what it was in the live action. But in all honesty, with the sword fighting, there were a couple times where like if you went like frame by frame, like you'd see some shit bend, or like, you know, fucking one of the fake swords got made to look all dumb or rubbery or something. But overall, like Netflix series, the sword fighting was as good as you could expect. Like for the budget and shit, like you would have to pay like 2-3 times what they put into the fucking shit to have any sort of better like fighting sequences when it comes to the sword fights. Yeah, for me again, like Mihawk, perfectly cast, look, feel, voice, everything about the actor I thought was fantastic. I thought Mihawk looked as on point as anybody in the series. His sword, like his big epic, you know, super duper legendary black blade, I know a lot of the show takes like uses practical effects and stuff like that, but it just didn't look as like fucking just epic as that sword should. Like it seemed like cheap and flimsy kind of to me, you know. Again, that might be like nitpicking shit. I made sure to wait a couple months so, you know, I wouldn't get fucking crucified by saying I didn't like Luffy, etc. Now, one thing that's going back to the practical effects, one thing that they got a lot of praise for that I just was not impressed with was the fishmen. There were a couple fishmen that looked like on point, that looked as close to the characters in the anime as they could, but like honestly, man, they look like a joke to me. They look like a joke, like a bad joke. Some of them did, and I don't know who or why anybody would look at the way some of these fishmen looked, especially on screen, and be like, yes, that's what we need. That's perfect. I just don't get it. Like Arlong, for example, the guy who played Arlong, I don't know. For me personally, with Arlong, like one, the actor did an okay job. I don't really have anything against his portrayal of Arlong necessarily, but like his size, his face, his attitude, I just don't think where they should be for Arlong. Arlong is this big dude, man. Arlong is a big ass guy. You know what I mean? He's a monster of a man. Like when you first see Arlong in the anime, you're like, shit. Whoa. You know, like that's a fish man. Holy shit. So for him to be like this like 5'5" guy in like lifts who like, you know, he talking like he in the hood or something. I don't know. I much preferred like the Arlong is you damn human. Like I much preferred that over like I'm Arlong. You gonna be here at Arlong Park. Like what the fuck was that, man? I hated the way they did Arlong because again, bro, when you first meet Arlong, he is intense as fuck, man. The stuff he's did to the village, to Nami, to her family, like his whole attitudes towards just humans in general. Like I don't feel like they damn, like I just, you know what I mean? Like fuck, I wish they'd have just done Arlong a little better. Like get a little bit of a bigger dude, make, because like Arlong is a big, like just honking ass guy, you know what I mean? Like he's this massive fish man, and then you got this little fucking dude who's literally like 5'8" in lifts trying to play this big badass fish man. And like I don't know, man, it didn't play out with me. And like one of the best parts, and it's been a minute since I watched live action, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the best parts of Arlong Park is like, you know, Sanji in particular, like fighting underwater and shit. I don't remember that like really happening as much as it happened in the anime. Like those underwater fights, like, you know, oh man, we're barely able to beat them on land. Now we got to fight them in water where they're way more like it. Like it just added something to it that I really enjoyed in the anime that I felt was missing a little bit. But yeah, for me, like Arlong, he looked more like a cartoon, like a goofy, like parody, more than like this big, scary, intimidating fish man that wants to like, you know, subjugate all humans and make them as slaves. You know what I'm saying? Just to kind of touch base on the pacing and stuff, there were a few parts where I wish they'd kind of stretched shit out a bit more, kind of like went more in depth in certain areas than they did in others. But overall pacing, like I think everybody kind of agrees, especially when you're trying to adapt a show that's got well over 1,000 episodes into what was it, 8, 10, 13 episode seasons. Like you're gonna have to pace that shit like crazy. And I gotta say they did a really good job, even with them having some like focusing on certain things or certain situations that didn't happen in the anime. I think they did a really good job of doing that and then continuing the pacing to keep up with the anime. But yeah, certain scenes and situations played out as perfectly as they could, while a lot of other stuff like Zoro and Luffy's meeting, etc., were completely changed or omitted completely. I thought Captain Kuro was portrayed very nicely. I think the casting with him was done well. The only problem I have with him is, this might be a reference very few people get, is he looked too much like Robbie Rotten from Lazy Town. Like, Google that shit and tell me there weren't many times where like Captain Kuro in the live action looked just like that dude. We all know like the big thing with Captain Kuro in the anime and in the series was him, you know, the way he awkwardly adjusted his glasses. You know, he didn't use his fingers because he always had the fucking blades. He had to use his palm. It was like every 30 seconds, every time they showed that motherfucker on screen, he's fucking I we get it. We got it. Okay? Fucking just every oh what yes, Luffy, and then it pans the camera over, pans it back to him, huh? You know, like we get it. They handed it a bit too many times. And I will say something that could have been extremely difficult to pull off were his blades, his gloves. I think they did a really good job of that. Like for Mihawk's blade to look, his black blade to look kind of cheap and flimsy, I think they did a pretty damn good job on Captain Kuro's gloves. When it comes to Buggy the Clown, I gotta say I liked him a bit more than I would want to admit in the live action. For me personally, I found him as much more likable of a character in the live action than in the anime. Now, once you get to like the Impel Down arc and stuff, like you can really start to see a different side of Buggy. You can start to like kind of like Buggy, and then you know like the whole fucking falling upward into like being a Yonko and a warlord of this side of the other. Like I liked what Buggy brought to the live action. I think the actor did a good job. I think some of the effects with Buggy's Devil Fruit ability could have been done better, but we'll see. We'll give him some time and see how things go. And we mentioned Axan Morgan earlier. I gotta say, maybe not the best casting, because again, I was wanting a bit more of a honker, big old fucking like Chadley looking fella. But the guy did well. I liked the jaw. The jaw looked good. His axe hand looked fairly realistic. Sadly, we didn't get to see that rip across Garp's chest as I wish we would have. Yeah, it's something that kind of rubbed me a bit of the wrong way. Is like Aleppo just running around with his like dick out and his ass cheeks flapping in the wind. Like I just felt like that was completely unnecessary, and like I really didn't expect to see any nudity in the live action One Piece, especially like Aleppo's ass. Like let me see Zoro's ass, Sanji's ass. Let me see fucking Nami's ass. I mean, duh. Like I like. What Aleppo? You know what I mean? Like, what's going on with that? Like, warn me next time, Netflix. Like, give me a fuck. Viewer discretion advised. Skinny ass old white dude's ass. We mentioned some of Luffy's moves being a bit like meh earlier. I will say, Gum Gum Gatlin was easily and by far the best looking of any of Luffy's moves that they kind of showed or portrayed in the live action. The Gum Gum pistol, again, it's one of those like Gum Gum. 3 days later, a pistol. Like it just too slow, a little silly, especially compared to like how cool, quick, fast like Gum Gum Gatlin looked. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. This it's just again me probably being a bit too nitpicky, just trying to piss him on about things, but. Another thing that looked awesome is when he did the Gum Gum, I think it was a Gum Gum battle axe, and he shot it through the roof of fucking Arlong Park, and then I thought that looked pretty damn cool, like crushing it down. I thought all that looked good. And like I know there was a bit of a like an inside kind of joke between Sanji and Zoro at one point where Sanji like says the name of the move as he's about to do it, and then Zoro's like, only dumbasses do that. Bro, I kinda miss Zoro just, 3-sword style onigiri, 2 gorilla rhino horn slash, fuck you. I kind of like that. Like as silly as it is, it's just, especially where he's got like, he's got the sword in his mouth. 3-sword style onigiri. Like I like that. I don't know. I think it's cool. Usopp is a very popular character. A lot of people like Usopp. I feel like the actor who is portraying Usopp, eventually he'll work out in the end and be well. But to be completely upfront and honest, at this point in the anime, like if you go to this point in the anime where we're at in the live action, I fucking hated Usopp. So it's hard for me to like really like review or critique him without being biased, because even in the anime, like I'm just thinking about what happened in the anime, and like there are times where like Usopp is a G, but there are also times where Usopp might be my most hated character in the entire series. Like even like I hate Foxy. Like Foxy is this, if they fuck, oh God, if they put Foxy in the live action, I'm writing my fucking senator a letter. I hate Foxy. I fucking hate Foxy. But there are times where Usopp has pulled some shit. I'm trying not to spoil anything. Has done shit or not done shit that has really just fucking like made me genuinely like upset at Usopp. So I can't really be like, oh, he did well or he didn't do well, because I fucking hated Usopp at this point in the series anyway. I was like, I hated him so much, even up to like Water 7. I actually was hoping that they just left the motherfucker behind. Like, I was like, thank God he's not on the crew anymore. Like, fuck yes. Like with Nami in particular, she's a very attractive young lady. I'm not gonna say anything contrary to that. Very lovely young lady. But I cannot decide if I really like her as Nami or if I don't. Like, I don't remember us seeing any like, you fucking asshole, you know, like any of those crazy scenes of hers. I would like to have seen that more. But there were like certain times with Nami where like her hair looked like fried and dead, you know, like overly dyed, where she's not a natural orange, you know, redhead. But then there were other parts where like she would do or say something, or scenes where like I'm over here like fucking, you know, tearing up. So like, we'll see. She's another one, like, I think she can pull it off, but we'll see. And then like Shanks was cast as a very likable guy. I can't really decide how I feel about Shanks yet at this point, but like, I don't know, like, nothing against the actor, but like the live action Shanks seems like a fucking like Dollar General discount version of the anime version of Shanks. And like, don't even get me started on the whole like, how did Shanks lose his arm, if at that point he's at least on the level of a fucking warlord, if not already Yonko. How's a fucking, you know what I mean, how is he losing his arm in a situation like that? I'm trying not to spoil shit, so I'm just trying to like walk around and be vague about it. But like, don't even get me started on that. It makes zero sense. Like, it should not be possible. And like, for me, another early character that comes back in the anime as, you know, completely transformed is Alvida. In this show, bro, she was such a just lame ass disappointment. Like, she was just hacky as fuck, bro. Overall, like, everything about her, like, you know, no offense against the actress, but the way that role was portrayed, man, like, I don't know. I just did not like it. I did not like her as Alvida. I thought that could have been done much better, because initially, like, we're talking like early episodes, like Alvida was like fucking like, you know, like you're led to believe like, oh, she's one of the most powerful pirates in the East Blue. Oh my God. You know, like, I didn't really get like this intimidation factor from the actress that played Alvida. Again, that might just be me, but overall, just to kind of wrap things up, I thought the pacing was really well. I thought probably the majority of the casting was on point, if not perfect. You know, Zeph was great, Sanji was great. Like, there's just so many people that like perfectly portrayed the characters they were cast as. I really hope they keep the practical effects and like the background and scenes, like the building of all these intricate ships and shit. I really hope they keep that up, because I feel like that's a big draw to a lot of people. Like, again, just go back and look at the Baratier. Like, it looked so damn good in the live action, and I was really surprised. I'll shut the fuck up and quit yakking. I gotta go finish episode 1000, because my old depressed ass probably still ain't got the balls to watch it yet. But if you agree, if you disagree, if you have anything else to add or say, please throw it down below, and I'm sure my ass will argue back and forth with you for a little while. But take it easy, and sorry I was a bit late on this one, but I wanted to make sure and kind of like let people, you know, calm down a bit, not have it be such like a mercurial topic where like, you didn't like Nami? How dare you? Usopp had so much to the live action. I can't believe, like, so hopefully we won't get any fucking, you know, crazy shit going on. But I also did just kind of want to give my opinion as somebody who, you know, in the last 3 or 4 months has really like stepped into the world of One Piece. So thank you guys for stopping by, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm sad. I'm sad. I'm at 1,000, boys. She's ending. She's ending. Oh God, she's ending. Fuck.